China's Bionic antelope robot infiltrates herds in Tibet, blending AI surveillance with wildlife conservation.
See the tech, trials, and ethical concerns revealed.
Imagine a landscape so extreme, so remote, it's often called no man's land. We're talking the highest plateau on Earth. Now, picture an endangered animal living there, incredibly skittish, just trying to survive against all odds. Then suddenly, a new member appears in its herd. But this isn't just any antelope. It's a marvel of modern engineering, a meticulously crafted robot. And it blends so seamlessly into the wild that you'd almost swear it was born there. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating new chapter where advanced AI and robotics meet wildlife conservation, and it's all happening on the breathtaking Tibetan Plateau. We are talking about China's Bionic Tibetan Antelope robot. Honestly, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It really does. But it's more than just a technological wonder. What's truly striking here is how this initiative, it just instantly sparks this multi-layered conversation. It's not just about innovative ways to protect nature, but also about, well, the complex ethical questions and potential unintended consequences, especially when cutting-edge surveillance technology enters such a sensitive and frankly, geopolitically significant region.
Absolutely, that's a crucial point. So our mission today is to explore this incredible innovation from every angle. We'll look at how it actually works, the vital role it's maybe set to play in safeguarding a near-threatened species. And then crucially, delve into those broader implications it raises about the intersection of technology, conservation, and yes, surveillance. We've pulled together insights from quite a wide array of sources, scientific reports, official state media, and some pretty in-depth international analyses to give you, hopefully, a truly comprehensive and balanced picture. So let's begin by getting acquainted with our star species, the Tibetan antelope, known locally as the Chiru. This magnificent animal is a flagship species of the Qinghai Tibet Plateau, basically an indicator species, meaning its health directly reflects the ecological well-being of the entire region. It's that important. These antelopes call the Hoh Xil National Nature Reserve home, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And it's aptly named No Man's Land because of its absolutely extreme altitude, routinely over 4,600 meters. Plus the incredibly thin air, brutal sub-zero winters, and its rugged, unforgiving terrain. Just survival there is incredible.
And that's exactly why its story is so compelling. If we step back for a moment, the Chiru faced an existential crisis back in the late 20th century. Its population just plummeted, from nearly 1 million down to a horrifying low of under 70,000. And this drastic decline was almost entirely due to rampant poaching for chatouche.
Chatouche, that's the ultra-fine wool, right?
Yeah.
Incredibly warm.
Exactly, sometimes called the king of wolves. And because these antelopes, well, they can't be domesticated or shorn like sheep, poachers would kill them en masse, slaughtering hundreds just for a handful of this incredibly valuable fiber. It really pushed the species to the brink.
Horrifying.
It was. Thankfully, through concerted conservation efforts in the 2000s, strict anti-poaching patrols, international trade bands populations have seen a remarkable rebound. They're now estimated between 100,000 and 300,000. Which has, thankfully, improved their status to near-threatened. Still vulnerable, but much better.
That's an incredible turnaround story. But it also means monitoring this recovery absolutely crucial, doesn't it? And here's the catch. Studying these antelopes in the wild is, well, notoriously difficult.
Extremely.
They are so incredibly skittish. They'll flee at the mere sight of a human from maybe 500 to 800 meters away. That's quite a distance. Any close encounter isn't just disruptive, it can severely stress the herd. And for pregnant females, it can even lead to miscarriages.
Right, a huge conservation challenge right there.
So traditional methods, things like using binoculars from a distance, or setting up static camera traps, or even flying drones overhead, they only yield limited data. And often they still disturb the animals. You're left with this enormous challenge. You need the data, but you can't get close enough without causing problems. And here's where it gets really interesting. Sometime in early 2025, Chinese zoologists, faced with this persistent problem, had a truly novel idea. The spark actually came apparently from watching a televised Spring Festival gala performance, which featured an array of dancing robots.
Really? Dancing robots?
Yeah. And they thought, hang on, what if a robotic imposter antelope could actually infiltrate the herd, act as an undercover researcher, get data no human ever could? And the result, after a period of intense development, was the world's first ever bionic Tibetan antelope robot. It's truly thinking outside the box.
It truly is. And what really captured my attention was the sheer ingenuity required to create such a convincing robotic antelope. This wasn't a solo effort either. It was a complex collaboration involving the Xinhua News Agency, the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and Hangzhou-based DEEPRobotics.
DEEPRobotics. They're known for advanced quadruped robots, aren't they?
That's right. They're well known for that.
Right. And the base for this biomimetic marvel was their Bionic X30 quadruped robot platform. You could think of it as a highly robust robotic dog, basically.
Right.
Specifically designed for operating in incredibly harsh, hazardous, high-altitude environments. But to transform this mechanical base into something that could genuinely fool a wild antelope herd, well, that took more.
Oh, absolutely. The designers had to work really closely with animal anatomy specialists, even taxidermists, to ensure every detail was perfect. They meticulously modeled a new exoskeleton based on the actual skeletal structure of a Tibetan antelope. That's key. Then they fit it with faux fur that closely matched the antelope's thick brownish coat, crucial for blending in visually.
And bad.
Even the delicate head features and specific coloring were replicated with painstaking accuracy. The only real giveaway, if you were to get incredibly close, would be tiny hidden cameras nestled discreetly just below the robot's eyes. This painstaking biomimetic design really paid off, as we'll see.
Wow. So it's not just functional, it's incredibly lifelike.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond appearance, the hardware itself had to be engineered for the plateau's punishing conditions, right?
Exactly. Appearance isn't enough if it can't survive out there.
It's roughly the same size and proportions as an adult Tibetan antelope, but it features a lightweight frame and jointed legs that perfectly imitate the animal's agile movements. And crucially, it wasn't just built, it was rigorously tested. Tested to traverse steep slopes, navigate rocky ground, swog through muddy wetlands, even push through deep snow, all while remaining fully operational in Hoh Xil's frigid temperatures and that incredibly thin air we mentioned, over 4,600 meters elevation.
That's quite the test regime.
It is. And this platform has actually been touted as the first quadruped robot capable of consistently functioning in such extreme conditions. That's a huge engineering feat.
It really is. And, it brings up an important question. How does this robot see and communicate from such a remote location?
Good question.
Well, it's equipped with an advanced AI vision processor. This isn't just a simple camera. This system can actually recognize animals and even specific nuanced behaviors in its real-time camera feed.
Like what kind of behaviors?
Well, for instance, differentiating between typical grazing or distress signals, maybe even subtle signs of courtship. It offers researchers a much more granular understanding of herd dynamics. And all that data is then transmitted via an ultra-low latency 5G network directly to researchers.
Ultra-low latency. So almost instant.
Pretty much. And that's crucial because it means real-time control and immediate alerts are possible, even from this incredibly remote reserve. And that's thanks to the new 5G coverage that's been rolled out across Tibet's highlands. That infrastructure is key.
So it's essentially a high-tech spy in plain sight. And how does it move? Obviously, it's not grazing for energy.
No grass needed for this one. It runs on batteries.
Okay. And how is it controlled?
Operators can telecontrol the robot from up to 2 kilometers away in open terrain.
2 kilometers.
Yeah.
That's impressive range.
It is. And it operates as a semi-autonomous system, so the robot intelligently handles its own balancing and obstacle negotiation. It won't just trip over a rock, for example. While human operators oversee its general path and observations from a base station, this lets them really focus on the scientific data collection, not just driving the robot.
Makes sense. Okay, so after months of intensive development, the Bionic Antelope robot was finally ready for its ultimate test, a field trial. In late July 2025, Chinese scientists brought it to Hoh Xil and cautiously released it near a herd of migrating Tibetan antelopes. This was it, the moment of truth.
Yeah, and what's truly remarkable about this stage, for me, was the immediate reaction of the wild antelopes. At first, the does were understandably cautious. They paused their grazing, their heads were up, inspecting this new, unfamiliar member of the herd.
I bet the researchers were holding their breath.
Oh, absolutely. But the robot's lifelike appearance, its careful movements, it seemed to work wonders. The antelopes didn't bolt, they seemingly realized it didn't smell or sound human, and crucially, it didn't behave like a predator or anything threatening. After a few moments of just curious staring, the herd effectively accepted the robot as one of their own. They just went back to roaming and feeding with it right in their midst. A peaceful infiltration.
That's incredible. So essentially, it's like a deep cover agent in the animal kingdom.
Pretty much, yeah.
So over the next 3 days, the robot traveled alongside the herd, performing those crucial close-range observations and filming continuously. And it successfully navigated approximately 2 kilometers of incredibly challenging open terrain, steep slopes, rocky potholes, even marshy patches.
That terrain is no joke.
It's not at all. Field video, which has since been released, showed it trudging along with a slightly awkward, maybe, but remarkably steady gait, completely unfazed. And the real antelopes, known for being so incredibly skittish, they merely glanced at it occasionally, allowing it to maintain a position just a few meters away, gathering data that was, frankly, previously unimaginable.
Absolutely. From a research perspective, this was a huge breakthrough. The robot provided unobtrusive, truly up-close footage of Tibetan antelope behavior in their completely natural state, something that was simply impossible to get before without disturbance. The team could accurately count herd sizes, monitor migration speed, observe social interactions, all without observer bias.
Yeah.
As DEEPRobotics proudly posted, it was a major success. Our robot runs with the herd at 4,600 meters using #AI plus #5G to monitor migration, protect wildlife, and preserve fragile ecosystems. You can sense the excitement there.
You really can.
Yeah.
So with the robot's success in the field, it really makes you wonder about the broader impact, right? Beyond just observing the Chiru. What does this all mean for conservation efforts on the plateau, and maybe even globally?
Well, it means a significant enhancement for conservation efforts, certainly, not just for the Tibetan antelope, but potentially for other plateau species as well. By seamlessly blending into the herd, the robot collects far more accurate and comprehensive data precisely because it doesn't cause stress or flight responses. And it's not just about more data. It's about accessing types of data and perspectives that were previously unattainable.
Okay, so what kind of specific data are we talking about? What's the real value add?
We're talking about exceptionally high-quality data on natural behavior, far more precise than distant observations or even those static camera traps can provide. It allows for precise monitoring of migration routes and timing, how fast the animals travel, exactly where they graze, and even subtle indicators of herd health, like spotting injured animals early, maybe identifying signs of disease spread, or accurately counting newborn calves without disturbing the mothers.
Without disturbance, that's key.
Absolutely. This kind of granular, undisturbed data is vital for ensuring the long-term population recovery and just better ecological management of these species.
That's incredibly specific and valuable. I can definitely see how that changes the game for researchers. What about immediate practical applications beyond just data collection?
Well, one immediate practical use that comes to mind, and it's a critical one, is preventing road accidents.
Ah, right. More infrastructure means more roads.
Exactly. The Tibetan Plateau has new infrastructure. When the robot detects antelopes approaching a highway, it can trigger early warnings to park rangers in real time. Rangers can then swiftly halt traffic, preventing these deadly collisions that can sometimes decimate migrating herds.
And that could even be automated eventually.
Potentially, yes. Over time, with further development, this warning system could become automated, minimizing human response time and making it even more effective.
Wow, that's a direct life-saving application right there. And its implications stretch even further, don't they? Touching on security, maybe. Could this actually deter poaching?
Absolutely. That's a really interesting angle. If we look at the broader context, a significant side effect is its potential to deter poaching. Think about the psychological shift. This vast, untamed wilderness, once maybe seen as a cloak for illicit activity, now potentially alive with silent, unblinking robotic eyes.
Deterrent, yeah.
If would-be poachers know that some antelopes might actually be robotic sentinels transmitting live video, they might just think twice before pulling the trigger. The robot essentially functions as a roaming, inconspicuous surveillance camera in the wilderness. It significantly bolsters existing anti-poaching patrols and just makes a risk far greater for illegal activity.
So it's not just a researcher, it's kind of a silent guardian too. And beyond deterring crime, what about the sheer efficiency of these ecological surveys? That must be huge.
Precisely. Using AI and robots like this profoundly multiplies the efficiency. Think about it. A task that might require weeks of high-altitude human presence.
Which is dangerous and expensive.
Exactly. With all its inherent risks and logistical challenges, can now potentially be done by a single robot, streaming data 24/7. This drastically reduces costs, minimizes human risk in these extreme environments, and lessens the environmental footprint of the research teams themselves.
And it fits into a bigger picture.
It seems so. This initiative is actually part of a broader tech-driven conservation strategy. Hoh Xil is becoming a vital testing ground, apparently, and this tech-driven approach is contributing to rebounds in populations of other species, too, like wild yaks and even snow leopards.
Okay, so the conservation benefits, seem pretty clear. Quite remarkable, actually.
Yes, technologically and ecologically, it's impressive. Yet, despite these undeniably clear benefits and the technological marvels, the deployment of an AI-powered robot in Tibet has also, quite understandably, raised significant concerns. Concerns about surveillance and broader geopolitical implications.
Right, because Tibet isn't just any remote wilderness.
Exactly. It's a politically sensitive region where China's government maintains incredibly tight control and has made massive investments in digital infrastructure.
It's true. China began rolling out 5G service in Tibet starting back in 2019. And by late 2023, reports said every single county, even the most remote towns, boasted 5G base stations.
Which is incredible coverage for such a region.
It is. And this extensive network is what enables projects like the Robo Antelope to transmit live video from a place once called no man's land. But it also, by its very nature, extends China's digital reach into crucial border areas near India and Nepal.
Precisely. And international analysts have certainly taken note. They observe that Beijing has been systematically integrating Tibet more deeply into its national development plans, while simultaneously ramping up security and surveillance across the region. Reuters, for instance, remarked quite pointedly that the robot antelope is part of China's growing surveillance that now even reaches into its most remote places.
That's a stark framing.
It is. And this is where human rights campaigners express real concern. They worry that advanced sensors and AI, deployed under the perhaps genuine guise of wildlife monitoring, could potentially be repurposed or maybe even inherently designed to surveil local Tibetan communities or sensitive border zones, not just animals.
And the state involvement adds to that concern for some.
Yes, the fact that a state news agency, Xinhua, was directly involved in developing the robot underscores for some critics that this isn't merely an independent science experiment. They see it as potentially an extension of state technological power and surveillance capabilities.
That perspective definitely adds another more complicated layer to the discussion.
Yeah.
I recall reading a July 2025 report by the CSIS think tank. It documented instances of Chinese authorities allegedly leveraging telecom networks for espionage in South Asia. Activists cite cases like that as a stark warning. The very same 5G network that connects an antelope spy robot, enabling its conservation work, could, in theory, also be used to expand mass surveillance of people. These efforts have sometimes been described as part of China's broader gray zone tactics.
Gray zone, subtle, non-military methods of asserting control or gathering intelligence.
Exactly, in contested or sensitive areas.
So the natural follow-up question becomes, could the cameras primarily meant for watching antelopes also be used, intentionally or not, to watch unwelcome human activity on the plateau? And could the data collected by these wildlife robots ultimately feed into China's broader security apparatus? These are critical questions being actively raised by some Tibet observers abroad. They see a real potential for dual use in this kind of advanced technology.
Okay, but what's the official line? What do Chinese officials and state media say?
Well, for their part, they've consistently downplayed any political angle. They frame this entirely as a win-win for science and conservation. They're hailing it as a major breakthrough in wildlife observation technology, as the Global Times put it. And they explicitly state there is absolutely no indication that the robot's data is used for anything other than wildlife research and park management. Full stop.
So a direct denial of surveillance concerns.
Yes. But this is where the timing and location ensure it remains under intense geopolitical scrutiny, regardless of intent. Tibet has, for a long time now, been subject to heavy surveillance from cameras in towns to, reports suggest, the collection of DNA from residents.
Right.
So the introduction of highly realistic animal robots equipped with cameras understandably gives pause to human rights groups. That ethical line between gathering data on wildlife and potentially gathering data on people, it can become dangerously blurred if such technology isn't very carefully governed and transparently managed.
It's a complex picture. So how did the rest of the world react when news of this bionic antelope broke?
Well, it spread globally pretty quickly, as you can imagine, and it prompted a fascinating mix of, well, fascination and critique.
I bet.
In the tech and science community, many reacted with genuine excitement. They saw it as a powerful new addition to an emerging arsenal of animal-inspired robots.
Like those robotic bats or fake coyotes.
Exactly. You see precedents for this even in military applications. The U.S. Army, for instance, has experimented with robotic bats for reconnaissance or fake coyotes, maybe as decoys or for observation. So this demonstrates a kind of parallel trajectory, mimicking nature for strategic, observational, or even security purposes. This antelope fits that pattern of innovation.
Interesting parallel. And what about conservationists?
Among conservationists, there is generally a strong welcome for the innovation itself. Many express real hope that AI and robotics could significantly improve wildlife monitoring, and especially deter poaching in these extremely remote regions where traditional patrolling is just incredibly difficult and often dangerous.
So they see the potential benefits outweighing the risks.
For many, yes. It's not just about more data, it's about accessing types of data and perspectives that were previously unattainable, like truly natural, undisturbed social interactions, or maybe early detection of disease spread within a herd. And this additional data is invaluable for global biodiversity studies too, especially since the Tibetan Plateau's environment is such a crucial barometer for climate change, and how species adapt at extreme altitudes.
Makes sense. But as you'd expect, there were also wary reactions, particularly from human rights and environmental watchdogs.
Absolutely. They highlighted that uneasy, almost dual nature of the project. Genuinely aimed at ecological welfare, yes, but simultaneously fitting into what they see as a broader pattern of high-tech surveillance expansion by the Chinese state.
And Tibetan advocacy groups.
They, in particular, have urged for much greater transparency and independent oversight to ensure that the data collected is used strictly for wildlife protection and absolutely nothing else.
And what about regional neighbors, like India? How might they view this?
Well, they are undoubtedly attuned to any digital footprint extending toward their frontier. It's a sensitive border area. While a single robot antelope itself probably doesn't pose a direct security threat, the underlying 5G and advanced drone capabilities that enable it, they demonstrate China's capacity to project a sophisticated network presence into these sparsely populated border zones.
Which could have ripple effects.
It could. It might potentially spur other countries to consider similar tech for their own borderland conservation or monitoring efforts. You could perhaps see a sort of tech-driven competition emerging, even in wildlife monitoring.
A tech race in the animal kingdom. Wow. So what does this all mean for the future then? Where does this technology go?
Well, it seems pretty clear that we are likely to see more robot rangers like this in the coming years. It feels like a door has been opened.
Yeah.
Researchers may very well develop other robotic fauna mimics. You could imagine robotic predators to study prey behavior from an entirely new vantage point, or maybe avian drones that can seamlessly fly within bird flocks.
The possibilities seem endless.
They do. The bionic antelope has truly proven that such sophisticated tools are no longer confined to the realm of science fiction. They're here.
Okay, so wrapping this up.
Indeed. The debut of the bionic Tibetan antelope robot marks a really compelling convergence of AI, robotics, and conservation. It serves as a powerful proof of concept for how incredibly advanced technology can benefit endangered species in extreme and challenging habitats. It effectively opens the door for creative, impactful solutions where direct human presence is problematic or sometimes even impossible.
Yet, as we've explored throughout this deep dive, it also underscores the critical importance of thoughtfully regulating how these powerful AI surveillance tools are developed and deployed. The goal surely must always be to maximize the good for conservation and scientific understanding, while simultaneously minimizing any potential misuse for spying or privacy invasion. It's a delicate balance. This bionic antelope, in a very profound way, symbolizes a complex new frontier one where technological progress meets both immense opportunity and significant ethical challenges.
Absolutely. And this raises an important question maybe for you, our listener, to truly consider. In a world where technology can mimic life so convincingly and collect data so thoroughly, what responsibilities do we as a global community bear? Responsibilities to ensure that these powerful technologies, designed ostensibly to protect nature, don't inadvertently become tools that erode human privacy or autonomy. It's a big question.
It really is something to think about. The gentle antelope has long been a powerful symbol of survival, of the delicate balance of nature. Now its mechanical doppelganger symbolizes an entirely new, complex